Over in the pages of Marvel Comics' core Amazing Spider-Man series, two generations of Fisk characters are currently teaming up to duke it out against Tombstone and his daughter Janice. Plus, the latest issue of The Amazing Spider-Man also features a massive brawl between Typhoid Mary and She-Hulk. My name is Ariko Braddock, and today, let's go ahead and examine the various fights over an Amazing Spider-Man issue 41. But before we get deeper into the video, want to encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the like button over on this video. Gang war continues. With all of New York's super underworld fighting for dominance, you didn't think Wilson Fisk, the former Kingpin of Crime, would sit this one out. Did you? Amazing Spider-Man issue 41 is written over from Zeb Wells, featuring artwork from John Romita Jr. We have inks from Scott Hanna, colors from Marcio Menyz, letters over from VC's Joe Caramagna, and the cover for the issue features John Romita Jr., Scott Hanna, and Marcio Menyz. Over on the cover here, we have Wilson Fisk and Typhoid Mary. One of my favorite aspects about this cover is the fact that Typhoid Mary just recently returned to the pages of The Amazing Spider-Man following her role in Vanaheim over in the Realm of X series. Also, really love the shading and symbol of the Spider-Man logo being displayed on both Fisk and Mary here. Want to extend a big thank you to Adventures in Poor Taste and preview some of the opening pages coming in from John Romita Jr. Over in the last video review on Amazing Spider-Man, we spent a lot of time commenting on how John Romita Jr.'s art is suited incredibly well for this particular arc of Spider-Man because he does a really great job pulling on the various elements of animosity between these really large Spider-Man characters. I think this issue is one of John Romita Jr.'s best of the series to date here. Watching John Romita Jr. capture all the tension between characters like Wilson Fisk, Kingpin, and Tombstone is just a fascinating sight to behold here. I also love how John Romita Jr. is able to juxtapose the really massive and hulking figure of Kingpin against the more smaller and slender frames of characters like Spider-Man, even extending to She-Hulk seen towards the very left of this first panel over in the issue as well here. Also think that John Romita Jr. does a great job laying out the various pages over an Amazing Spider-Man. I think this design in particular captures so much of the intrigue that readers can see within these opening pages. I wanted to explore this page from John Romita Jr. because I think there's so many disparate elements that make it so fascinating within the context of this Spider-Man issue. Really love how on the very final panel, we get to see the various facial poses over between Tombstone and Kingpin. I think the way that their faces are juxtaposed is so fascinating and introduces a really fascinating psychological element captured just from the artwork alone. I also love this third panel with how Typhoid Mary is reacting to Kingpin lashing out at her. The really silly and irreverent way that she reacts over to Wilson's outburst also captures a much different era of tone than some of the other panels seen within the issue itself. Also like how on this second panel, we get to see some just tense and natural looks over between Spider-Man and She-Hulk. I really loved how in the last issue of Spider-Man, there were these two different subplots established over with the various generations of Fisk characters with Kingpin and the Rose. Watching the Rose and the character of Digger try and battle over with Janice Lincoln as the Beetle within some of these final pages was really harrowing over on the page, and also seeing how Wilson Fisk as Kingpin may have influenced this scenario within the last couple pages really opened up some additional story material within the comic book as well. Also, I've really appreciated how Zeb Wells has continued to reference and drop in on the subplot with Madame Mask and characters like Nefaria as Amazing Spider-Man continues. I also really like where Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr. left off with Madame Mask here. I'm excited to see her show up in some of the future issues over in the core series. I think the bulk of the Amazing Spider-Man issue 41 is just dedicated to a massive fight between the various characters over in the core series. I think we've been watching characters get ready and set up for fights across so many issues of Amazing Spider Man that it feels pretty cathartic watching them duke it out here. I think John Romita Jr. is just great at some of that action choreography and showing off some really strong and visceral punches over within the issue as well. So there's just a lot of great context. There's a lot of individual fight scenes that are so epic. And I think that some of the violence stemming from the final page should also make readers really curious to see what's next for our various heroes over towards the end of Marvel's Gang War. So at the end of the day here, I think Amazing Spider-Man issue 41 is a pretty great chapter of the core series dedicated to showing off some of the fights that several issues of Spider-Man have set up for such a long time over within the narrative. Once again here, I think the way that Zeb Wells has reassembled his supporting cast over for the Gang War has tapped into all the potential that a premise like this has within the core Spider-Man series. I want to know from you, what were some of your reactions to seeing Tombstone and Kingpin duke it out over in the context of this issue? What are your thoughts over on the Gang War so far? I think it's gone a little bit better than even I expected. Thank you so much for coming to check out our video review over on Amazing Spider-Man issue 41, and we'll be back to see wherever this series is headed in the near future. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.